All right, we're going live. Let's see how many people can join here. Lunch break, and I'm going to go live and talk a little bit about what you can do if you're in a wheelchair during an active shooter event. So that's sort of the topic I want to cover. Sort of want to make a quick one today because I'm just taking a quick break and got a lot of things to do so I can leave town over the weekend. So I want this one to be sort of quick. I see a couple people coming on. So while people are coming on, that reminder, share, like, comment, ask questions. Those really help me. So say hi, ask questions. If you want me to talk about something in the future, make sure you go ahead and put that in there as well. And that's why I'm talking about wheelchairs today. You know, Eric yesterday asked me that question, and I said, okay, I'll talk about that tomorrow. So we're going to talk about what you can do in a wheelchair, and we'll talk about some other type of disabilities, maybe mobility problems, other things as well. Not just wheelchairs, but you know, we're going to lead off with the wheelchairs. So again, remember, comment, like, share, get this thing around. Visit the websites, surviveashooting.com, surviveanddefend.com. A lot of information there, free newsletter, free ebooks, assessment guides to help see if you're prepared. A lot of stuff at the websites. So enough people are joining. Please remember, comment, say hi, ask questions. But let's talk a little bit about what you can do if you're in a wheelchair and an active shooter situation happens. Now, I'm not going to say that I know everything about being in a wheelchair because obviously I'm not in one. And only those people that have that for the part of their life, they know what it's like. But I have had men and women that are in wheelchairs and in the computerized and, you know, motorized type wheelchairs come through the active shooter classes. And these people have partaken in the scenario training. They didn't just sit there and watch the lecture part. They were doing the scenarios and the other stuff as well. And so I think anyone and everyone can increase their survivability with a little knowledge, a little training, a little planning. And that's what we try to provide people in those classes. So I don't care if you are physically disabled in any kind of way, there are things you can do to increase your survivability, and that includes those in wheelchairs. So here's an overall global thought that you need to remember. You know, I teach 3 options: escape, denying access, and attacking back as the options for an active shooter. If you are not as good at one of those options, for whatever reason, you want to make sure the other options are stronger. Okay? So if you're in a wheelchair and it may be difficult to escape, especially if maybe you're on an upper level floor and you rely on some elevators, the shooting's going on downstairs, you don't want to take an elevator down where there could be a possible threat when the door opens. So escape might not be the best option for you if you're in a wheelchair. You need to be better at denying access. And that means, you know, your work location where you're at, you need to be better at barricading that and creating that spot where the shooter can't get to you. Now, some of that takes some pre-planning. What can you do to make that environment that you are in better to barricade and lock down and keep yourself safe? Now, obviously, this is good for in a work situation or a place where you're at frequently. If you're out at a mall or you're someplace like that where you couldn't preset some barricading things, you're just going to have that mindset of what can you do to keep yourself safe. I remember people, you know, the one individual had a really big, heavy, motorized wheelchair and said, well, I put this in front of the door, nobody's getting in. And so they actually had a plan where they could actually use the wheelchair as a way to barricade if there was nothing else. Now, the attack back, if you're in a wheelchair or you're immobile some other way, there are still ways you can attack back. You don't have to be hopeless and defenseless. You know, people in wheelchairs, they can be concealed carry holders, and so they can have a firearm with them to attack back and protect themselves. But say you're a teacher and you're not allowed to have firearms in the school. Why not a fire extinguisher or some other way to attack back that a person could use? We have taught people in wheelchairs how to hold and use a fire extinguisher. Now, if you have a disability where you can't hold and use a fire extinguisher, we need to get creative. What ways could you attack back? And again, if your attack back and your escape are weaker because of physical measures that you have, then you're going to have to get even better at denying access and creating a location that you can barricade easy and ways that you can do that. I don't have all of the answers because I'm not with you in your locations and your exact abilities and strengths and weaknesses. But the key is to do some thinking beforehand and assess what your strengths and weaknesses are, whether it's a wheelchair, whether it's a bad leg and that you need a cane or crutches, whether you cannot hold a fire extinguisher and use it, or you cannot hold another weapon and use it. Assess what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then start planning how you can escape, deny access, or attack back. Which ways can you do these? And if it's almost impossible to do one of them because of your circumstances, then you need to get stronger at the others. Or maybe just one of the three is where your strength's going to be, and you have to do that. So it really takes some planning and some thinking and some assessment of determining what's going to be best for you. And I know it's possible, because I said we have had people in wheelchairs go through the training, all the way through the scenario training. And we've had people in wheelchairs that could hold a fire extinguisher. We've had people that they couldn't. They just had, all they really could do is use the control on that motorized wheelchair. But that doesn't mean they're helpless. Michael says, plan ahead. That is your consistent message, and I think it can't be overstated. You can learn to swim while you're driving. Thanks, Alan. This is an empowering message. That's so true, Michael. Yeah, we have to plan ahead. When in the middle of the emergency, it's too late. You need to have thought about things beforehand. And that's why everything that my course and other courses, whether it's the 8-hour course here in town, it's the 4-hour course that I take on the road, everything is geared to helping people create a plan and preparing for that unthinkable. We hope it never happens, but if it does, we want a plan in place. And that's what the classes are about. Getting back to, a person in a wheelchair. So far, I've just been talking about if you're a sort of individual. But if you're working as a team and you have colleagues, you devise that into your plan. How can you be part of that plan? What will they do? What will you do if you're the person in a wheelchair? Or you have another disability that prevents you from doing some things. And so you work as a team of some people are doing one activity, others are doing something else to make sure everything is getting done. Okay? Say I'm in a wheelchair and with a person that's not in a wheelchair in a classroom. And say it's little kids. So our escape option is already diminished because it's hard to escape with a bunch of little kids. We hear shooting down the hallway. Maybe my coworker is barricading the door and I'm telling the kids to get back here along the wall outside of the fatal funnel, the safest place in the classroom. And I'm dialing 911. So we're dividing the actions that need to be accomplished based on our strengths and weaknesses and what we can do. Maybe it's an escape situation and I can go out the window with the assistance of my fellow co-workers. And so we work as a team to get us all out the window and escape. Okay? So that, again, is the prior planning that you need to do with those that you're working with, if it's a work situation, fellow teachers and administrators, if you're in a school situation. But have that plan into your thing. Like I said, we work with teachers, we work with people in wheelchairs and with other disabilities all the time. and they're not helpless. They are part of the plan, and they're doing the things that they can do, and other people are doing the things that they do better, and they work together to make sure everything's accomplished. And so, I don't know if Eric's on here yet or not. If not, he's going to be watching this later because he's the one that asked the question. But that is the best answer I can give you, is to look at your strengths and weaknesses and devise plans that work within those. Okay? If I'm at the end classroom or the indoor office building, and I can go out the door and down a ramp and be somewhere safe, I can escape easy. And so if that's your position, that's one of your avenues. And that's one of your potential options of surviving a shooting if the shooting's down on the other side of the building. That's how we escape. If I'm upstairs and I have to use an elevator as the only way down, my escape option might be limited because going down an elevator to open the door where a shooting is, you don't know. So we look at the deny and the attack back. Eric Kondo says, this is problem-solving issue where the problem is how to deny the attacker means or opportunity or intent to do you harm. See more. How exactly that is done is a function of being able to, and I can't read the rest, but you're right, Eric. This is problem-solving. And it's going to be determined by a person's strengths and weaknesses and the location they're at. Okay? Apparently lots of Erics out there who use wheelchairs. It wasn't you, Eric Kondo, that asked the question. I forget. It was, I think his last name was with an H that had that comment yesterday. And I told him that, yes, I'll talk about this tomorrow. And he said, great, I'll be listening. If he's not here live, he'll listen later. But it's looking at things and planning ahead. As Michael said earlier, the planning ahead is so important. And that's why I'm always talking about it. That's what the classes and this information is for, to help people plan. And so, I pretty much have covered what I wanted to cover when it comes to wheelchairs or disabilities, is assessing strengths and weaknesses and making a plan to make it work, and realizing that you don't have to be a helpless victim just because you're in a wheelchair or something else. Always know your surroundings, even while you're shopping. Yes, Brenda, so important. Knowing surroundings, knowing exits, and having a general plan of what you would do in those situations if something happened. Whether you're in a wheelchair or whether you're 100% physically able to do anything, you want to have that plan that meets your physical capabilities. Shan Joseph Slonsky, great stuff. I taught my handicapped people. I never treated them like they had a disability. I like all your videos. This is real life stuff, brother. Thank you very much. And yeah, and you've taught martial arts for many years, and so you've taught handicapped people. You treat them just like anybody else. You might have to modify some things that they're going to do a little differently, and so what? That's how we do it. There are black belts that are blind. There are black belts that are in wheelchairs. There are black belts with tons of other disabilities, and they do what they can, and they get around those disabilities. And sometimes a disability can be a strength. I told you about the teacher that said, hey, this big giant chair, all I have to do is move it a little bit in front of that door, and that door is not budging. And so he had a solution right there to protect the kids in his classroom, using that chair as a strength rather than a weakness to help deny that shooter access into his classroom. So we can always do things to the best of our ability. Sometimes we just have to be creative of what we can do. Okay? And so the biggest thing about this message is be creative. Think of things and how you would do it in the places that you frequent the most. And then have a general plan for when you're out and about and you're at places where you don't frequent as often. That's the best thing I can tell you, is to have that plan and that mindset that you won't be a victim, regardless of your circumstances. Everyone can plan and do things to increase their survivability and keep themselves more safe. And that's what I'm all about, helping people be more safe, enjoying everything life has to offer and that they can do, but do it safely and have a plan and be a preparation plan that if something does happen, you can survive. With that, I'm going to get off here and go have some lunch and get back to writing. Have a book that I got to finish. Please like, comment, share. Let me know what else you want to know about. Again, this whole topic today came because somebody put it in a comment yesterday. So if there's something you'd like me to talk about, put it in the comments. We'll get to it. If not, have a fantastic day and a great weekend. I'm doing some traveling this weekend, so my weekend posts will probably be really short, just a little motivational, hey, I'm here, have a great weekend type message. Come Monday, I'll be back to some of the longer posts and videos about active shooter, safety, self-defense type topics. Show handicapped people there's a better way is awesome. Hey, thanks, Shanjos. It is. Because nobody, I don't care who you are, you don't have to be a victim. There are things you can do to be survivors, and that's what I'm all about, teaching everybody to be survivors. And it all starts right here, survivor's mindset and having a plan. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Comment, like, share, get this thing out to people. Have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you next time.